welcome to Day Home Divas. I'm Joanne.
I'm Cash.
And I am Sophia.
Today we're going to discuss the different childcare options and discuss the pros and cons of each one. So we'll start off with the one that everybody knows, which is the daycare centers. Alberta defines daycare centers as a licensed childcare program providing care for infants, preschool children, and kindergarten children for 4 or more consecutive hours in each day that the program is provided. Daycares can serve children from birth to kindergarten, and there's two different types of daycare centers. The private daycares, where a for-profit childcare center in Alberta is a childcare program that is owned and operated by an individual or a private entity. A nonprofit childcare center in Alberta is a childcare program that is governed by a community group or board of directors that uses its revenue to improve childcare services. Staff-child ratios and maximum group sizes in centers. Child-to-staff ratios 0 to 12 months is one staff member for every 3 children. 13 to 18 months is one staff member for every 4 children. 19 to 35 months is one staff member for every 6 children. 3 to 5 years is one staff member for every 8 children. 5 to 6 years, one staff member for every 10 children. And then there's a maximum group sizes. So 0 to 12 months, your maximum group size is 6 children. So you could have 6 kids in the one room, but you'd have 2 staff members. The maximum group size for 13 to 18 months is 8 children. 19 to 35 months, maximum group size is 12 children. 3 to 5 years, maximum group size is 16 children. And 5 to 6 years, maximum group size is 20 children. Where sometimes this gets a little confusing is when you have your 13 to 18 months group with one staff member for 4 children, and then one of the kids if one of the kids was not 13 to 18 months, like let's say one was like 11 months old, that ratio then switches back to the 1 to 3 children. So you can't integrate those ratios at all. Like as soon as you have your youngest child, that's the child that the ratios go with. In Alberta, 2/3 of full-time staff in a childcare center for children aged 0 to 4 years must be early childhood educators, ECE level 2 or level 3. The program supervisor must hold a child development supervisor certificate. In the extended absence of the program supervisor, a person with certification at least a child development worker must be designated to assume the responsibility of the program. So basically that means the daycare director has to be a level 3. If they're going to be out of the building for extended periods of time, like if they just are out for an hour, it's not a big deal. But if they're out for much more than that, then there has to be a level 2 minimum kind of cover the director's position. At least 1 in every 3 primary staff working directly with children between the hours of 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. must hold at least a child development worker certificate. So they've kind of changed the wording. We know it as a level 1, level 2, level 3, but they've kind of changed that a little bit. So all other primary staff working directly with children at any time must hold at least a child development assistant certificate. The regulations allow a maximum of 6 months of staff to obtain this certification upon commencement of employment. However, the staff person must not have unsupervised access to the children prior to that. So basically, if you're a new hire at a daycare, you've got 6 months to get your level 1. But within that 6 months, you can't be in charge of a room by yourself. You have to have another staff member in the room with a level 1 minimum at all times. I think where some of the issues are coming with the new daycare centers that are popping up is having proper certified staff at all times. You've got to make sure basically everyone has got a minimum of a level 1, right? So if a new center's popped up and all of a sudden you've got all this new staff in it, do they have all their certifications? Like, are they doing that prior to opening or?
Well, and you have to have so many X amount of numbers of level 3s. You need X amount of numbers of a level 2. So it's not just level ones. Are they getting them all?
Exactly. We've seen there was recently, I should have put this in my notes, but there was recently a daycare center that had they offered a kindergarten program as well, and three of their daycares were shut down for incompliance with that staff ratio, like with their certifications. So it's definitely something parents need to be aware of when you're looking at daycare centers for your kids. You've got to double check, right? That's on you. That's on the parents to make sure that they know these guidelines and that the daycare centers they're picking, especially if they're a brand new daycare center, that they are following all these rules and regulations set out by the government. An out of school care program. Alberta defines an out of school care program as a licensed child care program providing care to kindergarten and school age children in any or all of the following periods: before and after school, during the lunch hour, or when the school is closed. Out of school care programs may serve children from kindergarten until before they are 13 years of age, or a child of 13 or 14 years of age who requires care because of special needs. So an out of school care program has to have at least one in every four primary staff members is certified at a minimum as a child care development worker. All other primary staff working directly with children at any time must hold at least a child development assistant certificate. And the regulation allows the maximum of 6 months, again, for staff to obtain their certificate upon commencement of employment. And again, they cannot have unsupervised access to the children. I know it was a long time ago, but when I worked at a daycare center, there was an out of school care program that like at a different location, but they were all affiliated. Some of the people that worked were high school students that came after school. I'm guessing they fell into that ratio, like the other staff held the certificates, but are high school students really getting their level one to work at an out of school care center? Who knows, right? I guess it's there again, it's another thing that parents have to make sure that they're checking for themselves. At that point, as a parent, though, I think I would just hire a high school student to babysit my kid in my house after school, right? Like, I don't think I would be, I mean, I guess maybe summers are different, but especially if you've got a 10 or 12-year-old, I don't think I'd be putting him in an out of school center.
Don't some of the out of school programs only go up to the age of 12 though?
Yeah, so basically they go up until you turn 13. So your 13th birthday, you're out kind of thing. But I don't know. I mean, you're allowed to there's no legal age of when you can start babysitting in Alberta, right? So your 10-year-old can babysit legally, like whether you'd want them to or not, I'm not sure, but they technically can. So if they're old enough to babysit other children, why are they needing to be in an out of school care program? I'd be interested to see how many specifically out of school care programs there are. Maybe there's something that are used more in the summer or like spring break and stuff like that.
A lot of older kids come to me because they're only children. They're an only child. And
Yes,
right over spring break, summer break, fall break now, they
that makes
want to play
sense.
with other kids, right? So
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But then again, it's probably they probably feel more comfortable like in a setting like yours, especially if they're, like maybe 7 years old, so they've aged out and they're in grade two or grade one, whatever that line is, where they've aged out of the kindergarten era, right? But they're not quite 10. No, that's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Preschools. Preschool in Alberta defines a preschool as a licensed child care program providing care to preschool children and kindergarten children for 4 or less hours per child in each day of that program is provided. Preschools may serve children who are at least 19 months old to kindergarten. Preschool program, at least one in every four staff members is certified at minimum child development worker. All staff working directly with children at any time of the day must hold at least a child development assistant certificate. The regulations allow a maximum of 6 months, again, to obtain that certificate. So basically a level one. Everyone in a preschool program must have a level one So here's my beef with preschool programs. Although it's not as bad until we get to the pre-K, but with preschool programs, I would consider a preschool program more for kids that stay at home with their moms and don't go to daycare or don't go to a day home. They're with their stay-at-home mom and they need to, socialize a little bit to prepare themselves for kindergarten. I don't know if I'd say a 19-month-old needs to be attending preschool. I think that kind of changes the definition of a preschool, right? A preschool is there to help socialize the kids, to help teach them to learn to, take directions from a teacher versus their mom and dad, and start working on like their fine motor skills and, maybe learning colors, the alphabet, stuff like that. At 19 months, that just seems a little young for preschool, in my opinion.
So for preschool though too, what I found working in a daycare is it's not only just preschool like what we see on the side of the road where they go for half a day, but some daycares actually will consider just that age group as a preschool.
Exactly.
So it's not really like, I think they get the names mixed up because preschool and a daycare is different than preschool that you would send your kid to, but they're doing the exact same thing.
100%. And I think it's confusing for parents. It's almost like false advertising, right? Like parents are expecting this more of a curriculum-based program where their kids are there to learn certain things instead of just being taken care of for the day, like a daycare center, right? I mean, not that we early childhood educators, obviously we help teach them things, but it's not necessarily a curriculum based. It's more learning through play and interacting with our peers and stuff, things like that. But I think as soon as you start to give the definition of a preschool, it's confusing to parents as to what a preschool actually is for kids.
When I find some daycares though, they do have the curriculums, right? They're just constantly changing them over and over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. So here we hit pre-kindergarten, the bane of my existence. No, just kidding. So pre-kindergarten is for children who require additional support to prepare for kindergarten and grade 1. Children eligible include those learning English as a second language, requiring francophone programming, gifted and talented, or diagnosed with mild, moderate, severe disability or a language delay that is moderate to severe. Now, if a pre-kindergarten program stuck specifically to those kids, no problem. But what I've been seeing in the past year or two is parents seem to think that pre-kindergarten is needed, like that it's just part of the schooling curriculum. You go to pre-kindergarten and then you go to kindergarten and then you go to grade 1. A lot of kids that are 4 years old, some that have been 3 years old, have been going off to pre-kindergarten, and their parents are putting them in these programs thinking that they're now started school. And that's a lot for 3 and 4 year old kids that they've got 12 years at minimum ahead of them. And now we're tacking on an extra year when they just need to go play with their friends, right? And, they're going to learn so much more from playing with their friends than they're going to learn sitting in a classroom at 3 and 4 years old. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I was really struggling with this. I could not. So my oldest child was very intellectual, very smart. He picked everything up quick and he was more than ready for kindergarten. Like if I could have started him at kindergarten at least a year earlier, absolutely. But my youngest child was not ready. We like waited a little with kindergarten for him. I feel like most children, especially, I mean, I've been doing this for 23 years of like running my day home, and then I worked in daycare centers before that. Most children are not ready prior to starting kindergarten. And putting them in a pre-kindergarten program, that's just a lot. It's a lot of expectations on 3 and 4 year olds. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
I 100% agree. I don't think children should be in a classroom that young. They need to play, they need to explore through play and playing with friends and being outside and I don't agree with it at all. Like you said, they're on minimum the next 12 years of their life. That's a lot of
Exactly.
school, right? Just let them be
Yeah,
kids.
yeah. I mean, yeah, our childhood is so short. And I mean, I would go back in a heartbeat if I could, right? And as I'm sure many would, right? And now more than ever, I feel that their childhoods are system of school and activities and one thing after another. Like, just let them go play. Like, especially 3 and 4 year olds. Are you kidding me? Children with a severe disability or language delay that is moderate or severe may start pre-kindergarten at age 2 years, 8 months, as of August 31st. So all children may begin at age 3 years, 8 months. So as long as come August 31st of the year they want to attend. If they're delayed, they can start at 2 years, 8 months. That's backwards to me. If your child is delayed, don't put them in school early. Give them some extra time, right? Like they need that time to develop a little bit further. And we're talking pre-kindergarten. Kindergarten itself is not a requirement in Alberta. Why are we pushing now pre-kindergarten onto kids? That just seems ridiculous.
The way I say is you only have 5 years of their life. Let them learn how to interact, their little cooking
Yeah,
spiels, their imagination, and then let them go to school. Let them learn how they should be, because how we were taught isn't going to be the same as how they're taught anyways.
exactly.
So
And
just let them enjoy it.
right? And I feel as soon as kids start schools, some of their like creativity and their imagination gets kind of squashed, right? Because you can't just be yourself at all times. You can't just let your imagination run wild. You have to follow the rules, follow the curriculum. And so now we're taking away those precious years that kids have to just be themselves, let their imagination go wild, do whatever comes to their brain and, just run with it. And now we're saying, nope, we're going to put you in a classroom even sooner. And I mean, 2 years, a 2 year old, like, okay, so they're 2 and 8 months. So they're just a little over 2.5 year old. Can you imagine telling them to sit in a desk, behave themselves? Well, like, I just, I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just let my kids have way too much fun and freedom during the day, but my goodness, we get with the 2 year olds, you get craft time, you get like 5, 10 minutes max, right? Like we spend an hour or so prepping this amazing craft. We're so excited. It's going to be awesome. We've got paints, we've got glue, we've got scissors. We're like, okay, kids, here you go. You get 5, 10 minutes of their attention with that craft. And now we're doing that all day long in a preschool or a pre-kindergarten. I don't know. It just seems a bit ridiculous to me.
I agree, 100%.
Maybe some of it is parents don't necessarily understand the way that children learn and develop and grow the same as we do because obviously like we've got the experience, we've got the education, this is what we do. So maybe there's parents need to have more exposure to education classes, maybe something. I don't know, something for them to understand that there's a lot better ways for children, especially young children, to learn than in a
Maybe
class.
it's a competition. Maybe it's a competition. They see all the other parents doing it, so they have to do it too. And it just tumbles into everyone else having to do it, right?
Yeah, honestly, I definitely have seen that.
Yeah.
Like I find that a lot of my day home parents over the years, they become good friends, they get close, like, and then one of them decides that they're going to go to pre-kindergarten, and then everyone else is, oh, I should do that too. And not necessarily. For some kids, absolutely. For some, especially if they've got like a speech delay and stuff, we have limits to how much we can teach, right? And so if they have a speech delay, particularly, then absolutely pre-kindergarten would probably help them with that speech and help get them some of the tools that they need. But if your child is just regular child that's just playing and having fun, I don't know.
Just let them play and have fun,
Exactly.
right?
I
Yeah.
think it's a lot of society based too.
Yeah.
Everyone just puts it out there. Oh, do this, do this. You can do this here. So they just go with it.
And bragging rights, right? My kid's so smart. I tell you, I have one of those, had one of those so smart kids. The pain in the ass that is, I tell you. Nothing gets by them. Like you can't, if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, you are schooled. So was happy.
I have one
Good
of
thing
them too.
that sometimes mom just doesn't know.
By
That's
by
okay.
the time they come to me, it's all good. Everybody knows.
Yeah. And then they help teach you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a group family childcare. Alberta defines a group family childcare as a licensed childcare program providing care in a private residence of a license holder to infants, preschool children, kindergarten children, and school-age children. Group family childcare providers may serve children from 0 to 12. Typically, there is 7 to 10 children with 2 caregivers. The license holder is one of the caregivers, and no more than 3 children may be under 3, no more than 2 children may be under 2, and childcare settings must have outdoor play space. The license holder or an additional care provider must be certified at a minimum as a childcare development worker, and each additional childcare provider is certified at minimum as a childcare development assistant. This is something that you can no longer have in Alberta, but those that held those licenses prior to the change are still allowed to continue to work. I figured it was important to put in case somebody comes across a home that's doing this type of care, that as long as they had their license prior to the rule change, then it's okay. But any new family childcare is not allowed in Alberta. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I think that it might not have necessarily been a bad thing, having like your day home and having an extra staff with you, an extra person there to help you out. Like if you have a doctor's appointment or whatever, then that other staff member is there. I'm not clear on whether the rules, like if one person was allowed to leave for an hour or so, but I don't know. It seemed, and having that social aspect too, right? Like, so you've got another adult to talk to and, you work together. I don't necessarily think it was a bad idea. So
I have
family
my
day.
mom to help me,
Oh, that, right? See, and I
and she
think that's
helped
great.
a lot.
I mean, especially like when you're like, I don't know if you did like transport. Do you transport kids to school and back?
I do, I do, I do. And so I will drop off a group with her and then I'll go to another school and then come back, right? So she helps me watch them all and it's very helpful. Or if I need to go get lunch for them, she will stay home and I'll run to Walmart, grab lunch, come back. It's very helpful. I don't know what I would do without her.
Yeah, that sounds great, right? I guess the only difference there is that you're not able to do the 7 to 10 children, like you can't extend your the amount of kids that you have, right?
No, no, no. I only have six
Yeah,
kids. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's still having that extra person. Oh, I wish my mom lived closer.
Yeah.
Vancouver Island, it's a heck of a commute, man.
Yeah, it's really nice. She helps a lot. So, or even if I have a doctor's appointment and she'll sit with them, like in the summer, right? Because I'm with them
Yeah,
all day in the summer. So then if I have a doctor's appointment, she'll watch them while I run to my doctor's appointment. And
Can she
yeah,
adopt me?
right?
right? I'm like, I was just thinking,
And
does
I mean,
she
she's not
hire her?
certified, but she raised me and did a pretty good job. So I
Yeah,
trust her.
right? Yeah, no, oh, that's great. And yeah, and even having like, so I live in a lake community and I used to, when my own kids were younger, like and at home, we would take the day home kids to the lake and hang out on the beach and like, swim
Yeah.
around and stuff and in the summertime and it was great. but because I had those extra hands, right? So would be awesome. If only they would want to do it now. Two boys at 28 and 25, I don't think I'm getting the help. Family day homes, aka agency-run day homes, aka licensed day homes, aka registered day homes. I don't know how many titles we have for these. The government also refers to them at times as private day homes, which is fantastic at adding to the confusion. Alberta defines a family day home as an approved program where Children's Services has entered into an agreement with a family day home agency to coordinate and monitor the provisions of childcare in the private residence of one or more program educators. Family day home programs do not provide care for more than 6 children in each private residence. Family day homes may serve children from ages 0 to 12. So I will add that care for up to 6 kids, but that does not include the provider's kids, right? So same as with private day homes. You can have 6 kids in your care, but if you yourself have 6 kids, then there can be 12, which most people don't have 6 of their own kids, but people do see like a day home provider that has 8 kids in their care. 2 of those kids are most likely their own children, right? So there are currently 83 day home agencies in Alberta. In Alberta, a day home agency can have as many educators as they want, each caring for a maximum of 6 children. This does not include the educator's own children. So I've read mixed things regarding how many children or how many providers each agency can have. Nothing has been very clear. It's only there that they can have as many providers as they want, because that's the only thing that I could find stated definitively. But then I've heard people saying that no, mine can only have this many, or my agency isn't accepting anymore, because there has to be some kind of ratio there. However, when looking into day home agencies to find out this information, oddly enough, their information is not openly out there for people to find. So researching the agencies has proved to be not an easy task, which I feel is weird, really. It should be, their information should be out there and open and clear for everyone to see. Like, if there are rules that they have to follow as far as how many providers they can have, shouldn't that be out there and known for people? Like, it's odd that it's not. For an agency that has, let's say, 150 providers and charges each provider the minimum $550 monthly agency fees, that's $82,500 per month that agency brings in. That's a substantial amount. I just recently discovered that agencies also get funding from the government on top of that. And really, they have to cover their staff salaries, obviously, and there's licensing fees that they hold. And then they cover the insurance for the providers. That's a lot. That's a lot of these agencies. That's big business. That's definitely profitable. That's definitely a lot more than I expected. I honestly didn't think that it would be that much. Some providers, their agencies are charging significantly more than the 550. I guess it's good business to be in, is run your own agency.
Let's do it.
Right? According to the Alberta Family Child Care Association, the benefits for providers being with an agency are as follows. So administrations, agencies provide assistance for registration, paperwork, fee collections, safety checks, and many other government administrative tasks. This helps family day home educators focus on caring for and teaching children. Sorry, but $550 a month minimum. That doesn't seem like much.
Don't even get me started.
Right? So, business development educators get support and guidance with developing their own professional home-based childcare business in a variety of areas, such as strategies to adhere to government regulations, program planning approaches, and access to additional resources. Educators have the flexibility to set their own hours, choose their own clients, and develop their own curriculum. However, until now, that's all changing with this new flat fee starting on April 1st. Educators do not the ability to set their own fees and such anymore, and their curriculum is now being looked at as well. There's certain things that they're going to have to include in their curriculum now. So they're definitely losing some of their ownership of their business. Networking and professionalism. As part of an agency, educators also benefit from networking opportunities with other day home educators and early learning professionals. Opportunities such as coaching, mentorship, and professional development are provided through associations with an agency. This ensures that there is sharing of current research and best practice in the early learning field. Again, we see so many providers that obviously are not getting this mentorship and coaching. I mean, we're in the Facebook groups. There's some that are for private and registered day home providers. Some of their posts, this doesn't show that they're getting this networking through their agency.
Exactly. They're asking questions on Facebook because they don't feel comfortable enough going through their agency, and they're not getting that support from their agency, right? They should know the things they're posting about, but they don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
And then, which is funny, point number 5 is support. Being with an agency reduces the isolation of working alone and gives educators a support system to call on. Again, however, as we have seen as of late, the support is not there. We have reached out to day home providers that are with agencies and asked multiple if they would be interested in coming onto the podcast and sharing some of their experiences that they've been having with their agencies, because many of them have had questions with this new flat fee that is being implemented on April 1st. They've had questions about every aspect. The questions have been on the Facebook groups. None of them so far have been willing to come on the podcast and talk about it, all for fear of backlash from their agencies, which is unfortunate. They should be able to ask questions, get this information, and share that information. I don't understand why it would be such a bad thing. There's been providers that have been kicked out of their agencies for asking their agency questions about the new flat fees. That's ridiculous. That's not the support that their monthly $550 is paying for. As soon as they need support, they're kicked out of their agency. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Each day home agency follows the Alberta Day Home Standards guidelines from the Alberta government, but they can also have their additional rules of their own. This is where things get complicated. We have heard the amount of my agency lets me does this. Well, my agency doesn't let us do this, but we can do this. I cannot wrap my head around why there is not one set of guidelines and that's it. Providers with an agency, if it is considered regulated care, it is regulated by the government, yet they all have their own rules. How is that regulated? Why can one agency say that their providers can do this, but another agency says they cannot? Where is the consistency with that?
It should be straight, just like daycares. Daycares all have to follow one certain guideline by everyone. Doesn't matter who you are or what you do.
Exactly. Honestly, the lack of consistency with agencies, I think, just adds to the confusion for parents and providers. So it also states on the government website that parents are responsible for choosing an appropriate childcare provider and monitoring care on a daily basis to ensure quality and that their children's individual needs are being met. Parents will contract with both the agency and the provider to meet their childcare needs. Parent review of these contracts is essential as parents are responsible for complying with the terms and conditions of the same. Contracts indicate arrival and departure times and days per week required for care. So if the providers are with an agency so that parents have peace of mind that those providers are therefore being monitored to ensure the children's well-being and that their individual needs are being met, why is the government stating that it's the parents' responsibility? And I mean, obviously, as parents, it is our responsibility. 100% I get that. But why is the selling point then of an agency that they take care of all that? They're saying, don't worry, you're with an agency provider, and so your child is safe. We're monitoring, we're taking care of all that stuff. But make sure also, while your child's with that agency provider, you're monitoring and taking care of all that stuff yourself. What?
Right. Doesn't make much sense.
Right? Where are the benefits therefore for the parents? Sophia, you mentioned in the last episode that your parents show up every day,
Yeah,
right? Just as all of our parents do. They show up every day to drop off their kids, pick up their kids. They're the ones monitoring,
they are.
right?
Yeah.
So,
And I have older kids too, so they can speak to their parents and, tell them what's going on and if they like it here or not. And so, I mean, and they come every day, they're at my door, they see everything that's going on. I
yeah,
don't need to pay an agency.
right? Yeah, I think it comes down to that again. The agency is there as the middleman to allow the government to feel warm and fuzzy about giving the subsidies,
Yeah,
is basically all it comes down to. I really feel for the providers that are with the agencies because they want that support. They need that help and effort that the agencies claim that they're giving them. So they're with an agency for that reason, but then they're not getting it. I really feel
no,
for those providers.
yeah.
Okay, so the category that the government website does not provide, surprise, surprise, private day homes. So we're not listed at all anywhere. When I went through all of the government websites looking for what are they going to define us as? Nothing. Not even a mention. So here's what we are. Private day homes, they're the same as agency run day homes. As far as we can look after 6 children plus our own, age 0 to 12, although we don't have to follow the same ratio rules as agency run day homes do. We don't have the 1 under 1, 2 under 2, and 3 under 3, which personally I like. I like when the kids start with me at babies and you've got 2 or 3 babies, they're all the same age, they grow up together. I love that.
I agree.
Right? They get their friends. They're just I
They
think it's
become
so good for them.
family.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do feel that as private providers, we can offer that more family type feel of care because our contract is between us and the parents. We get to adjust to whatever the parents need. If their kid needs a little extra of this or a little less of this, then we can adjust that without having to go through a third party. We have a business license through the city, at least those located in Calgary do. We have police clearance and vulnerable sector clearance and first aid training. We follow the same rules and regulations that agency run day homes do. The difference is we are not run by an agency. We have control of our own business, and I feel we're held to a higher standard, at least because we are judged more harshly. There's a misconception that because we're not with an agency that we don't follow rules and we're not accountable. But what people forget, or maybe they don't understand with our business, is that we get most of our business by word of mouth. Parents recommending us to their friends, their family, or simple on someone's Facebook post asking for a recommendation for a private day home. If we didn't provide a safe, loving, nurturing environment, we would be out of business quick. We count on our references and recommendations. No different, I guess, than the agency run providers. They count on the same things. I just feel that we're held to a higher standard because we're private, where the people will judge us more harshly.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do something that they like or whatever. It's all over mom's Facebook group. I think, we work extra hard to make sure that we stay off those rants.
Yeah, I know I work extra hard to just provide a better quality of care, right?
Yeah,
Than the out of school programs in schools because they are my direct competition. So I try
exactly.
and go above and beyond for my kids and do things with them that those programs won't do, right?
Yeah. And definitely with all the new rules and regulations that are coming in to play as of April 1st, I'm so glad we're private.
I am so
You know,
happy I'm private. I take my kids in the summer for hikes in Kananaskis, like I'm outside every day with them, swimming pools and water parks, and I don't know if I would be able to do all that if I was with an agency. I don't
yeah,
know. That's a question we can have for our lady that we're interviewing, right?
exactly. Yeah, I know that I use the little kid pools in the backyard in the summertime, and we're in those things, man, every day,
Yeah.
all day, every day. And I couldn't if I was with an agency. I mean, I understand some of their reasonings, but at the end of the day, man, when it's 30 plus degrees outside,
Yeah.
we're in those pools, you
Yeah,
know,
for
and
sure.
and I know that I'm supervising them safely because I'm sitting in the pool with them. You
Yeah.
know? So
Because you need it too.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, some of the differences between the like a private day home versus an agency run day home are so minor, they're not even, most people would not even notice. It's the
Yeah.
things like that, right? I think it all comes down to, especially lately, it has come down to the government funding. That's the difference,
Yep.
which is
Totally.
sad. If the go, I mean, I will say it until I am blue in the face. If the government gave the funding directly to the parents, which is where it should have gone in the first place, parents would have control and freedom to choose the provider that works best for them. It's not always about, are they registered? Are they private? Are they a daycare center? Sometimes it's just, man, this one's really convenient and close to my house, and I like the person that does it. I know that I'm on a corner right next to a school, and unfortunately, I don't take school age kids, which, a lot of parents have requested that I do, but I'm still, when you're taking the older sibling to school, you just need to drop off the younger sibling. That's a lot of where my business has come from. Parents walking to the school and they just quick stop at my house to drop off the baby sister and then off they go. A lot of parents, they don't get to make those choices because they require the funding from the government. And it's unfortunate.
Mhm.
And thank you everyone for tuning in this week. I hope you join us again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.